I shouldn't have to say too much after that. There's really nothing I'm going to add to that that's going to be better. I may hit it from a different angle, but it's what it's all about, is your story of you and Christ. And that story in detail doesn't always have all the good parts. It doesn't have all the parts that we would like to think that, oh, I just want to share that. But that's what makes it a story, is that He loved us in spite of all of the things, all of our life, all the mistakes. Tonight, we're going to deal with a story in the Bible that we know about. As you turn in your Bibles, go with me to Mark 4, in verses 35 through 41. It's a story of the disciples with Jesus on the ship as they're crossing the other side, and Jesus is sleeping. And so I want to talk about tonight how to go and how to handle storms of life. How, Brother Lott, do I handle storms? What is the process of handling storms? Jesus is already, as we've studied, done all these miracles, taught all these parables, and then ever so often we will find that in the middle of these, He will have something that takes place. Some action, some story, some sending the disciples out or doing something or somebody getting healed, and it reiterates what He's been teaching along the way. And so what He's told them is that, listen, if you will plant in your heart, if you will grow the right things, if you will produce the right stuff, it's going to produce the life that you're wanting. Okay. Have they been doing that? Well, let's put it to the test and let's see, because storms are going to come. I love when you talk about storms, it reminds me of the story of the chief years ago in South Dakota who was over a tribe, and he was really worried because South Dakota gets cold. I know right now it's like 14 degrees and 15 degrees up in South Dakota. That's way up there. And he was really worried. And close by his tribe, just down the road, was a meteorologist station. It's where they kept up with the weather. They kept up all this. So he wanted to feel like, because everybody was asking him from the tribe, Chief, do you think it's going to be cold? Do you think it's going to be a bad winter? And he wanted to look smart, and he wanted to be able to tell his tribe yes or no. And so one day he kind of snuck off down the road and asked the guy at the meteorologist center, he says, do you think it's going to be a bad winter? And he said, well, it could be a bad winter. So he goes back and he says, I feel like it's going to be a bad winter. You need to collect as much firewood, as much stuff as you can. And about a month later, he wanted to make sure he was still kind of on the right track, and he went back to the meteorologist and he said, you still feel like it might be? He said, oh, it's going to be a bad winter. The chief went back and said, it's going to be a bad winter. Collect as much firewood as you can. Third time he goes back to the meteorologist and he says, you sure? Oh, it's going to be a bad winter. And the chief asked him, he said, how in the world do you know it's going to be a bad winter? He said, we know because down the road, all the Indians of the tribe are collecting so much firewood, they must know that it's going to be a bad winter. Sometimes you need to know where your information is coming from. Sometimes somebody's telling you there's going to be a storm, and you need to know why. And I always think about that. Where are you getting your information? Jesus gives the disciples information. Let's go to Mark 4, verses 35 through 41. And I want us to talk about how do we walk through storms? How do we walk in the face of storms, the storms of life? On the same day, when evening had come, remember he's teaching all of these things, he's showing them all these things. He said to them, let us cross over to the other side. Now, when they had left the multitude, they took him along in the boat that he was, and other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that it was already filling. But he was in the storm asleep on a pillow, and he awoke him, and he said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing? And he arose and rebuked the wind, said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? So immediately after he's tested them, he's going to test them in reality. Here's what he says. And they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, who can this be that even the wind and the sea obeys him? Now they've watched all these miracles. We've went through the first 4 chapters of Mark, and Matthew would show even more miracles, and Luke would show even more miracles, and John will show even more stuff. And yet, when they get to this point in time, the only thing they can muster is fear. The only thing that they can come up with is that we are afraid. There's a painting of this that I really love, and did you find that painting? Did you happen to find it? May not have, may have. There it is. This is Rembrandt's painting, and if we could scroll up closer, we can't, but you see the little guy right on the front? He's kind of looking towards you. You see him? If you count the number of people on this boat, there are 14. There are the 13 disciples and Jesus. The 13th is the little guy in the front. That's Rembrandt. He painted himself in holding the rope and holding his little beanie hat. This painting is we don't know where it is right now because in 1990 it was stolen from the Chicago Museum. If you ever run across it, there's a $5 million finder's fee. So if you see it hanging in somebody's house, say, I need to go make a phone call. But look, in the painting, you've got people that are doing different things. Jesus you can barely see him in this darker version in the back. But there's people trying to fight the storm. There's one leaned over throwing up. There's one, everybody is focused on something. In a storm, what happens is all of us begin to focus on something. Some of us in here, when the storm comes, we go to blaming. Anybody ever, like you're in a situation and you start going along and things start going on? I told you we weren't supposed to. I told you we weren't supposed to be doing this. Anybody? Don't point your finger at them. Just kind of. You know that when they're around, it's like soon as it goes wrong. Oh, here we go. Well, I told you we weren't supposed to do it. There's some people that just get into just military mode. Well, this is what we got to do. Look, all of y'all just need to hush because y'all done got us in here. Now just hush. Let's just get this fixed. How do you react in a storm? What is your personality? Some people just sit back like some of the disciples and I guess we're going to die. It's just we're meant to be. We're just going to die. You ain't going to try? No, you needn't try. God just intended us to be here. Every person has their own way of seeing it. And in Rembrandt, it's beautiful because he doesn't just show them all fighting. And he doesn't show them all just trying to get through it. He shows them in different ways reacting to the storm. And some are huddled around Jesus in the far back of the boat with the darker part. You can barely see Jesus' face, but there's 4 or 5 of them just huddled around him like looking at him like, we're in trouble. So I want us to look at tonight in this story what it is we're supposed to learn from storms. What is it we are supposed to gain from storms? Because there's people in this room right now that are going through storms. I get phone calls every day, got several more today, of people going through storms. Some that are in hospitals, some that are going through COVID, some that are going through family situations, some. Number one that I want you to realize is simply this. Just because you can be close to Jesus has nothing to do with whether or not you will encounter a storm. If your mindset was, I'm going to church tonight so that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday will work out really good, it may not. It may not work out like you have it planned. Storms are not simply because of what Jesus tells us. Jesus told the disciples, let's go to the other side. Let's go to the other side. Sounds simple enough. But in the process of doing and following and going along with what Jesus has said, even the plan that Jesus has for your life to get to the other side has nothing to do with the fact that there may at times be things that rise up or things that come up that want to distract you or cause you to react in a way that keeps you from the purpose that God has ordained in your life. Go with me to 1 Peter 4, 12 and 16. Let me show it to you this way. If you're going through a storm right now, don't be surprised. Here's what Peter told them in their time. Beloved, do not think it strange concerning of the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing has happened to you. But rejoice to the extent that you are to partake in Christ's what? Sufferings. Now we think of Christ's sufferings, we think, well, yeah, he was beaten and crucified. But Jesus also slept outside. He also told people, foxes have holes and birds have nests. I don't have a place to lay my head. Even in this situation we're talking about, Jesus is on the boat. He's tired. You would think that the wind and the waves and the world would just give him a little bit of time. Come on. He's had a rough day. He's healed multitudes of people. He's solved multitudes of problems. He's debated Pharisees and Sadducees. It's a 3 or 4 hour journey to the other side. Man. And you know Jesus is just like, get my pillow and I'm just going to lay down. Can you guys handle rowing to the other? Oh, yeah, we can handle that. You sure? I'm just going to lay down back here. Is it okay if I lay down? Because I just need y'all to row us to the other side. And even in the middle of that, while he's asleep, all of a sudden he gets this shaking and this noise and somebody looking at him right in his face and, don't you care we die? Hold on. The last thing I remember, y'all was going to row us to the other side. And now the next statement that I get is, do you not care that we die? That's how quick life can change, isn't it? It can change in one phone call, one word, one letter, one person saying something, one thing happening. It's amazing how life in just a moment, you can be in calm, they have it all planned, and then it go to a storm. Listen to what the next verse says. If you are reproached for the name of Christ, blessed are you, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests upon you. On their part he is blasphemed, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer or a thief or an evildoer, as a busybody, or in other people's matters. He said, if you suffer, don't let it be because you brought it on yourself. If you are going through trouble tonight, the first way to cure the trouble is if you're doing it, stop it. If you're the cause of suffering, stop it. It'll save you a whole lot of pain. If you're spending all of your money at the casino, and then Monday you're like, we ain't got money to pay the light bill, and fussing about ain't got money. Quit losing all your money at the casino. There's certain things you can fix. And he said, listen, if you're doing it by doing evil things or a thief, or you've done something that every time you hear the popos coming, you think they're coming after you, then quit doing it. If the police had their lights on, sirens going, and pulled up into your yard tonight, what would you think? If they had their lights on, everything going, and they pulled into your driveway tonight, what would you think? Do you think they're coming after you? If you do, quit doing it. It's pretty simple. If you hear a knock on your door and you say, who is it? It's Pastor Lott. And you need to hide things. Hold on, Pastor, I'll be right there. Hurry up. Stop. See, there's certain things you can fix, isn't it? I mean, certain things you can fix. But there are certain things that you can't. Listen to verse 16. Yet if anyone suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God in this matter. Whether the world brings it on you, or whether life brings it on you, or whatever takes place, we all are going to go through some suffering. We are going to go through some issues. We're all going to go through things. And if we do it as a Christian, then just say, God, somehow, some way, for some reason, you're allowing me to go through this, and all things are working to good to those who love the Lord, are called according. So you're going to turn it for good, because I'm not doing anything that's against you. I'm not living any way that's against you. So whatever this problem that I got to go through, whatever storm I got to face right now is meant to teach me something. It's meant to show me something. It's not meant to hurt me. Even though I may feel the pain of it, it's not meant to hurt me. It's meant to grow me. So in our lives, this becomes the thing. And sometimes that's just the way life is. It's like the guy years ago that had this ranch, and he was walking out through his ranch. The guys were watching him out there, and about that time, a big old bull in his field got after him. And that big old bull was chasing him, and he saw this little ravine, this little hole, and he jumped over in it, and the bull ran past and was kind of standing there. About that time, the man jumped out, and the bull come back after him. He jumped back in the hole. And the bull would stop again. He would jump back out of the hole, and the man... Finally, he got to the fence, and the guys were like, what in the world were you doing? Why didn't you just stay in the hole? He said, there was a bull chasing me. He said, but there was a rattlesnake in the hole. So every time I was jumping in, I was wondering which one was worse. And isn't life that way? Like, why are you acting that way? Because if I go this way, I got it. And if I go this way, I got it. Sometimes life is that way. But number one, understand that when we talk about you can be close to Jesus, don't let the devil tell you that, well, if you're close to Jesus, you won't have problems. If you're close to Jesus, everything's going to work out. If you're close to Jesus, you're always going to end up on top. No. You can go through storms and have issues and have to fight back things, even though you love Jesus. Number two, Jesus then allows these storms to test your faith. So if I know that they're coming regardless, that means God has allowed it. If I had time, we'd go to the book of John where Jesus said, don't take them out of the world, Lord, but keep them in the world. I know they're going to go through problems and they're going to go through trials and they're going to go through, but allow them to stay in the world because that's where they have to be to shine a light. So it means Jesus is allowing these storms. Go with me to 1 Peter 1 and 7. Listen to what it says. 1 Peter 1 and 7. That the genuineness of your faith, being much more precious than gold that perish, though it is what? Tested by fire, may be found to praise and honor and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ. So the goal is that you would have to go through a bunch of things. You would have to suffer a lot of things. You would have to endure. I know this sounds like really good preaching, doesn't it? That you would have to go through it. For what reason? So that at the end of it you would find glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ when He comes, or at others are searching for Him. They would see, wow, He's real. Just like the testimony we had a few minutes ago. Why do I need to battle alcoholism? Why do I need to go through? Why do I need to have to endure? Why do I need a rehab? Why do I need... Because all of those things that seem like it's working against you is getting you to a point that when you're filling out the paperwork, and glory at the what? The revelation of Jesus Christ. That all of it's meant in one fashion or another to reveal Jesus to you. To one person, he speaks to you and tells you better get out of the drug house and you better get to Forest and you better see Pastor Lott. To another, you better do this. To another, a different story. To another, you better leave Birmingham and pack your stuff and get back to Eupora and get to preaching. It's all to reveal Jesus. And when you share that story, guess what it does? It reveals Him to others. So everything that we're going through, the genuineness of your faith would be tested. Let me give it to you in a test. Let's test you. Let's see which one you struggle with the most. Number one is your pressure test. How do you do with pressure? This faith test has one question. How will you handle stress when you are absolutely tapped out or at your limit? When you can't go any further, what do you do? When you say, I just can't take no more, what do you do? If the answer is, I fall on my face, I cry out to Jesus, He's all I got, good. But I just said a while ago, which one of you is the problem solver? Which one of you gets mad? Which one of you blames everybody else? Which one of you gets upset? Which one of you gets angry? Which one of you, when you're stressed out, which one of you goes into the back room and says, just leave me alone. I don't want to talk to nobody. Just. Because you got to learn to pass the stress. The disciples in the Bible, Jesus puts them in a stress place that they can't get out. These guys are sailors. These are fishermen. They've been on boats all their life. And they're like, we know this. We got this. And it has gotten so bad that they have already registered in their mind. The stress has gotten so bad. The situation is so bad that even they who are fishermen and live on boats look around and say, we're dead. We dead. Peter, what are we going to do? There ain't nothing to do. We're done. We're finished. There's got to be, maybe we can get to sail situation. We dead. We are perishing. We are dying. Water is coming in the boat. It's going down. And we're in the middle of this thing, and there's none of us that can swim in this stuff 3 miles back to shore. We are dead. That's under all the stress. They fail the pressure test. Yes, they do finally wake Jesus up, but they don't wake Him up to say, Lord, you can fix this. They wake Him up to say, don't you care that we're dying? At least you could be awake while we die together. How do you do under pressure? How do you do? I remember Johnny saying this all the times when he would go through this when he first started being a manager where he's at and dealing with all the pressure of that, and it comes with a lot of pressure. And he would come to me and say, I'm quitting. I remember many times he'd be up, he'd be running the sound or something. I'm quitting tomorrow. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't know what to do. It's driving me crazy. Going crazy, anxiety. And I was like, here's what you need to do. Get you a little New Testament, put it in your pocket. What good's that going to do? I said, when you feel stressed, when you can't, I said, just tell them you got to go to the bathroom. And I said, just go sit on that commode, pull out that little New Testament. And I said, just pray and read until you feel like I can get up and go do it. That sounds simple. But when you're stressed out, your mind isn't thinking anymore of a fixing it or you just get me out of it. You have to learn that under the stress of life, the key is to be able to say, I run to Jesus. Number 2, how do you do under a people test? Some people do good under stress. Man, they love stress. I'm a good stress person. Everybody always like, man, you do better when it's like 11 o'clock, got it, that last 3 days, got to do it, got to work 48 hours straight. And I'm like, yes. But the people around me can make me go crazy. Anybody like that? I mean, you'd be fine if y'all just get out of my way I can get this done, but it's killing me. How do you do with people? Because this test has to be passed. Sometimes God puts people in your life who will stretch your faith. They will stretch you and about make you snap. In fact, some of you do. Right? How do you do under the people test? When people are around you and are sometimes negative, and you don't need negative, or they're trying to help, but it's not helping. It's Job would say, how you do when you got friends who all they look at you and say is, what'd you do wrong? And all you keep telling them is, I didn't do anything wrong. And they keep looking and saying, oh, don't lie to us. We know it. What do you do under your people test? The stress of people in your life. Now, it doesn't always mean people who's negative against you. If your personality is a certain way, anybody here control freaks? Okay. You don't like people either. Because they won't stay in line to what if they just do what you've asked them to do, it would make your life so much simpler. You can't sleep because they won't do. Now, they're sleeping fine, but you can't rest because they won't do what you've asked them to do. And you remind them of, I worry more about you than you do yourself. You're unhappy because of their life. Just because they're not people who are negative, it can be just the fact that I just can't get everybody lined. If I could just get everybody okay. People will stress you out. What do you do in those moments? Do you run to Jesus? Or do you buckle down harder? Or do you whine more? Do you complain more? Because if you're a people controller type person, then when somebody doesn't do it, all the stuff I done for you and everything I try, I guess I just won't even just try anymore. Fine, I don't care anymore. And of course, then what you're wanting them to say is, no, I need you. Oh, no. I know I'm messing somebody up tonight. Just pulling the covers back on you. But there's a pressure test. There's a people test. Can you just deal with people? Can you live with people? People who upset you. People who don't do what you like. People who just keep... Jesus has got surrounded by these 12 guys and ain't none of them right. He has surrounded himself with 12 friends. Number 3, can you handle the persistence test? The third test you'll have to pass in your life is the persistence test, which is basically ask the question, will I maintain my commitments or will I quit somewhere along the way? In our society, we in spades fail this. We get married expecting somebody eventually to leave us. Everything we do, we expect somebody to let us down. Somebody's not going to come through. We're just waiting for it to happen. We've raised a society that is sarcastic and negative and untrusting, and we've created a world like that we really don't believe anybody really cares or anybody really... You can be a policeman and basically put on a uniform and walk out to give your life every day, but people think you're a bad person. They don't really care. Really? How can that be? Because the test is, will you stick it out? The commitments that you made, will you not fold on them? And the church, as well as the world, has done as good a job as anybody when over half of our marriages don't last and what we say isn't legitimate, and even if we sign a contract, we hire lawyers to get us out of that. We've become a society where, look, I'm going to do as good as I can for as long as I can, but sooner or later I'm going to. Can you make a commitment to something and know that there's never an option to quit it? I always do this when I do baby dedications. I do this when, as I always tell them, I have 6 commitments in my life and I only have 6. It's taken me a lifetime to get them, but I only have 6 of them. 1 is my commitment to God, my relationship to the Lord. That's a lifetime commitment. The second one was to my wife. I stood in front of people and made a lifelong commitment. Till death do us part, I will be faithful. The third one was to my church. I stood in front of my church and I said, I will represent you to the best of my ability. I'm not perfect, but I will do my best to be perfect every day so that I bring you honor and not dishonor. I joined the church. 4, 5, and 6 are my children. Those are my lifelong commitments. If you know me, you know I do not break those. You are optional. I like you, but I ain't committed that much to you. Not unless you're a member and you just say, hey, I'm part of this church, we're good, and I'm committed to helping you do it the way I can. But these are the commitments of my life, and my life is simplified because of my lifelong commitments. We make commitments to thousands of things, and we think we're committed to Dish Network until the next company comes along and DirecTV gives us a better offer. We don't really understand when we say those are not optional. Can you pass a people test? Can you pass the stress test? Can you pass the commitment test? The world watches every day. They watch when you get in trouble. They want to know how you're going to react. They watch how you deal with people. And they watch how long you can do it. Whether you said you're going to do it and failed them along the way. Can you pass the faith test? Because the purpose is to grow your faith. Jesus allows the storms to grow your faith. You say, well, I have failed. Okay, so you failed. Take the test again. Doesn't mean you failed for the lifetime. It just means you failed. Believe me, I was a D student in high school. Failing was normal. To get to be a D student means you don't make a lot of A's and you don't make a lot of C's and B's. You make a lot of C minuses and a lot of F's. And you just kind of mix in between and hope it ranges up to a D. But what it taught me is don't quit. Keep fighting. Keep going. It didn't come easy for me. What you have to do in your life, if you say, well, my last time I got married, I'm just never going to try. No. Just know what a commitment is next time. And make sure you find someone who understands that same concept. Start by them loving you loving God more than they love you. That's a good place to start. I love God a lot more than I love Elise. It's because I love God I can keep loving Elise. Anybody amen that? Nobody amen that. In your life, know your commitments. Number 3. Storms then force us to cry out to Jesus. If I'm going to make these kind of commitments, if I'm going to be tested in my faith, then it pushes me automatically to run to Him. It's not a cliche. It's not just something you do. It's something that just becomes, when stress comes, first thing I do is I get up in the morning and I say, Lisa, I'm headed to the church. First place I come is right here. I sit right here on that front row and I just start pouring out. It's the only place I got to go. If you're committed, you can't quit. You better make it good. If heaven ain't real, I'm going to be one of the most disappointed people in the world. If it is real, I'm going to bust it wide open. Because I'm committed. And in your life, that's the key. Understand that when you're in these situations, go with me now to 1 Peter 5 and 7. 1 Peter 5 and 7, listen what it says. Casting all your care upon Him. Because He what? Because He cares for you. He's not going to prevent the storms. He's not going to stop the storms, but the storms are there so that you would learn to run to Him. Go with me to 2 Corinthians 1, verses 8 and 9. Let me show it to you in another way. Here's what Paul says. For we do not want you to be ignorant, brethren, of the trouble which came to us in Asia, as we were burdened beyond measure, above strength, so that we despaired even of... Now, who's writing this? Paul. You know, Paul, who never has problems. Paul, who's always... You catch that? For we do not want you to be ignorant. We don't want you to think that, man, I'm telling you, if you pastor Lott, you got this anointing. No. Even if you're the Apostle Paul, even if you're Peter, let me tell you what's going to happen in life. You're going to have to go through storms. And he said, listen, when we went into Asia, it was bad. It was tough. That we were burdened beyond measure, above strength. We did not have an ability to handle what we were going through. So that we despaired even of life. Just let me die, Lord. You ain't been in a good fight until you've had to pray, let me die. Somebody said, I ain't never prayed that. Well, you ain't hurt bad enough then. Because there's some situations you're like, dying is definitely a move up from where I'm at. And Paul said, we just said, Lord, just take us home. If this is it, just let it happen. But listen to the next verse. Yes, we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in, but in God, who raises the dead. Paul said, here's the way I saw my life. I was a dead man walking. Sometimes in your life, you're going to feel so burdened by things and so stressed by things that you're going to think, yeah, nobody has any idea that I'm just dead on the inside. I got nothing else to give. I don't feel no more. I don't care no more. I humanly, I've reached the end. If you want to break me, God, you have broken me. God says, good. Good. Why? Because then you'll come to the conclusion when you run to me, I'm the God that raises the dead. I'm the God that brings you out of what you thought you couldn't have. Me and the guys, we talk a lot about last year when we built the camp and everybody and until you do construction and things, you have no idea what took place. We didn't even start framing the inside of those things until the end of April. That means May, June, the first week, we had camp. There was we wouldn't look at each other and say it. Mark, Elise, Jeff, whoever was, Kenneth, whoever was there, and other people working and going, we wouldn't even talk about it. Just, hey, here's what we got to get done today. Let's get this done. Let's just keep going. Let's keep going. And in the back of our minds, we're like, this is not possible. Well, God said we're going to get there. Well, then something's going to have to happen because it's not possible. They'd call us and say, all right, y'all going to be ready? Man, we're going to be ready. Bring them on. And I'd hang up the phone and say, God, I don't. And then to look around some days and there would be 13 to 14 different crews. You can't even get 2 plumbers to show up to sing. You can't get an electrician to your house. I had 13 different crews at different times. One, and they don't even like working together. One would say, well, I'll come after something. I said, no, you're going to be there and you're going to be working. And while one's pouring concrete, one was laying a board over the top of the concrete, carrying commodes in. If you'd ask them to do that any other time, they wouldn't do it. And I watched something that was dead, impossible, come to life. That's just I've seen lives and I've seen marriages, but the fact is that it's at that moment, it doesn't scare God. God wants you to reach those points. And He doesn't want you to do that because He loves to hurt, or He just says, I'm going to allow life to bring the storm. It's not that He creates it or He says, I'm going to bring it on you. He just says, it's okay. Now we ask, God, why'd you let this happen? And God says, there's a reason why I let it happen. I didn't bring it on you. I didn't just wake up, and when you woke up one day and say, I'm going to put it on Tim. He doesn't say, He just sees all of it coming, and He sees it on the horizon, and I'm thinking, okay, and God's saying, Tim, I hope you're ready, because this is coming. Your dad's going to pass away, Tim. I hope you're ready. Tim, there's things going to take place that you're not looking for this, but I'm telling you, I hope you're ready. And what He's hoping more than anything is that at that moment I feel the deadest. Is at the moment when I feel I got no strength, or I can't act back cool no more, and I can't tell everybody I got it together, and all the junk's been pulled back, and everybody can see me for what I am. He hopes at that moment I will have enough in me to just say, God, you're all I got. That's what He hopes. And Paul said that's what we did. Yes, we had the sentence of death. Everybody around us said, y'all are not getting out of this one. Y'all are dead. Y'all won't live through this. We had the sentence of death on us. That we should not trust in ourselves, but in God who raises the dead. God said, I'll let them put it on you, just so that they would know that I still raise dead people. I still revive dreams that others said can't happen. I still do things that others say can't be done. I do the impossible. Number 4, Jesus will either calm the storm or He will calm you. Jesus will either calm the storm. There are always 2 storms going on in a battle. The disciples had to deal with this. There is the outer storm which you can see, and that's one side of the storm. And most of the time you can tell me very clearly, Brother Lott, this is what's going on in my life. When I get phone calls like today, it doesn't take them but just a second to tell me, Brother Lott, this is what's going on. I just want to let you know this is what's happening. This is what we're facing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be praying. But there's the other storm that's harder and much more powerful to explain. In fact, when I ask you, let's say let's just hypothetical. So someone needs $200 to pay a bill, and they call me. That happens from time to time. Brother, we're in a situation we need. All right. Hey, we're going to do what we can. I'm not sure whether we'll do what we can. We're going to help you. And we're going to try to help you get through this storm. And you know what? They don't cry about that. They'll try to put on, and brother, we just need a little help. We're going to try to help you. But when I say, let's talk. Tell me what's going on that's got you here. Tell me what's happening right now in your life. That's a different subject. Brother Lott, I'll be honest with you. Here about 2 months ago, this took place, or that took place, and it's just been chaos, and you can hear them crying on the other side of the phone, and it's... What's happening? There are 2 storms always going on in your life. It's the one you can see that you think, if I get this one cured, I'm okay again. But it's the one that stirs up on your inside that God says, is this the one we're going to fix? Can I calm the problem? If I give you the $100, $200 to pay your bill, is that going to fix both storms? Whew, I feel so much better. Do you? Or is it just taking the pressure off until this storm comes back? Jesus, when he's sitting there, he has to calm two storms. He stands up and he first looks out and he says, peace, be still. He gets up, they wake him up. Peace, be still. And that storm went down. But there's a bigger storm that's going on in their lives. They didn't know who was on the boat with him. They had no idea who was on the boat. And because of it, they had no peace. They had no faith. They had no trust. Let's be honest. If life turned for bad, and really bad, a Job bad or whatever kind of bad, would you still come to church? I mean, I know what you're going to tell me. Oh, brother, yes. But think of your times past. When something went wrong or something. Did you come to Wednesday night church? Why? Because that storm was never fixed. In fact, some of you are here tonight, and I'm glad you are, is because you don't have a big storm right now. You felt good tonight. Hey, you want to go to church with me? Yeah, I think I'll go to church with you tonight. But now if you'd got a bill today in the mail that said you owe $2,000 for something from times past, you'd be sitting at home, oh, Lord. You want to go to church tonight? Oh, no, I don't even need to spend the gas. Right? I know you got to be honest with you. We're just talking as friends. We don't need to be spending no money, no gas money. We don't spend no. We go $2,000. Would the storm outside mess up the storm on the inside? Would it create a bigger storm? So Jesus cures the one, but now he has to cure the other. So, Jesus will either calm your storm or he will calm you. What he wants to do is to calm both. Paul Harvey used to tell the story about fear, and he'd say it this way. He said there was a chicken farmer, had a chicken coop out in his backyard, and every so often he would go out there and he'd realize he lost a hen or some eggs were missing, or he knew some fox keeps getting up in my hen house and getting my hens and stealing. And so one night he decided, I'm fixing to put an end to this. And so he got a shotgun, loaded it, put it in his bed right beside us. If I hear anything, he laid there. All of a sudden he heard them chicken. He grabbed that shotgun, started walking out in the dark out there. As he got close to that chicken pen, he got to thinking, what if I had a fox? I got this buckshot. What if it's a mountain lion or a bobcat or... Whew. He could hear the noise up in there. Finally, his dog, he didn't realize, was walking up behind him and bumped him from behind. Boom! Nine chickens died that night. But here's the sad part. Not one chicken died by shotgun. They all died because of fear. because he stood outside and listened while the fox was killing the chickens. And he was too afraid to stop it. Not one chicken. So you thought when I said it went boom that 9 chickens died, you thought, no, they all died. They died because he stopped short and he was too afraid to go forward. In our lives, Jesus comes and he asks us and puts us in the position to simply say, if Jesus is in the boat, you will make it through the storm. Go with me to 2 Corinthians 12, 7 through 9. And lest I should be exalted above measure, an abundance of revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. Concerning this thing, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in. Therefore, most gladly, I rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may. It's running to Jesus. Paul said, in my life, I had a situation that I asked God, if you'll fix this situation, I'll be good. And God says, mm-mm. What are you going to do about it? I'm not going to fix it. I prayed 3 times. Nope, not going to fix it. What are you going to do? What we think and what we don't realize is what he says in verse 9, what he did to fix it. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in. He didn't say you're going to fail. He just said you will only succeed by you accepting your weakness and then clinging to my strength. We always think that, well, Paul then had to suffer, Paul, whatever it was. No, it didn't mean that Paul was defeated because of this. Paul just sought the answer. God, you can fix this real quick if you will just never let me have a storm. And God says, I'm not going to promise you won't have storms. I'm going to promise you can always run to me. And if you run to me, I'll promise you I will always be there. My grace is sufficient. My strength will be made perfect when you confess when you say I can't do it, God says, good, because I can. Therefore, most gladly I will rather boast in my infirmities. Do y'all realize that I have people sometimes that say, you shouldn't say you're not smart. You shouldn't say you're not this. Do you not realize that I boast in my... I'm glad I'm not super smart. So that when I do smart things, guess what? I boast in what God can do through me. See, the problem is, well, I'll tell you what, I'm good at this. And man, that's wonderful that you're good at all that stuff. I'm not good at much anything. Because whatever I'm not good at doesn't mean I can't do it. It just means the only way I'm going to accomplish it is if God gives His strength to me and allows me to finish what in my weakness I can't do. Some of your biggest problems is you keep saying, I can take care of it, I can handle it, I can do it, Smartest thing you'll ever do is just realize how dumb you are, how weak you are. And when you do, you're just going to run to God and say, God, I can't. That's what He taught Paul. Paul said, if you'll fix this, I'll be able to tell everybody I can handle it. He said, I ain't fixing it. Why? So that you'll realize in your weakness, you'll be strong, but only through me. Paul said, therefore, I most gladly will boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may what? Not rest in me, rest. How did you do that? I didn't. I'm too dumb to do that. How did you do that? I wasn't me. I didn't know how to fix that. I don't know how to do that. How did you dream? I didn't never go to architecture school. I have no idea how all this stuff came. Well, how did it all happen? My weakness, His strength. I've lived my whole life never being afraid to tell somebody I'm not smart. Just so that people come back to me later and say, man, that was really good. So where do you think it came from? God. I'll take that. And God says, I can use that. I can use that. So number 5, it wasn't that the storm God's trying to hurt them or do it. He wants them to come to the conclusion that yes, I'm in a storm, but I can survive any storm with Christ. So if Christ is on the boat, you will make it through. Go with me to Isaiah 43. Isaiah 43 verses 2 through 7. I'm wrapping it up. Last scripture. Isaiah 43, 2 through 7. Here's what it says. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not. When you walk through fire, you shall not, nor shall the flames scorch you. Why? For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and Saban in your place. Since you were precious in my sight, you have been honored, and I have loved you. Therefore, I will give men of you and the people for your life. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your descendants from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone who is called by my name, who I have created for my glory, I have formed him. Yes, I have made him. If Christ is on the boat, you will be all right. Why? Because you have someone to wake up, someone to call on, and someone strong enough to fix it. So it doesn't matter if you're smart enough, great enough, big enough, bright enough, tough enough. He is. His grace is made sufficient in your weakness. Therefore, I will glory, and I will say, I will boast in the Lord. Let the weak say they are. The disciples learned a very valuable lesson. When you wake him up, don't ask him, does he care? Because he does. The biggest question is, who are you waking up? The last question the disciples asked is the saddest question of all. It's not, do you care that we perish? That's the question you always hear. The most powerful question is the last one. Who is this man? Who is this man that even the winds and the sea obey? When you answer that question, it'll change your life. When you know who it is that walks with you every day, when you know who it is who watches over you, and the only one that gave you your breath this morning, the only one that will guide over you and keep you all through the night, when you know who that person is, it'll bring a peace on the inside that the storm on the outside can't disrupt. The last promise Jesus gave his disciples before he left, he gave it this promise. It wasn't you be rich. It wasn't just you have all this. He said, my peace I leave you. Not the peace the world gives you, but my peace. And the question tonight is in the middle of your storms or the storms that's coming, do you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you got peace on the inside? Do you know no matter what happens, I know who I'm running to. I know I ain't quitting church. Because it ain't the church's fault. It ain't Pastor Lott's fault. It ain't this fault. It ain't even God's fault. A storm's going to come. But I know this much. I know the God who can calm my storms. And I know the God who rolls and rules over my life. I know who I'll run to. Will you stand? Tonight, you may be in a storm. There may be things that are just pressuring you, or people that are pressuring you, or commitments that are pressuring you. Brother Lott, I've made promises and commitments. I don't know. Brother Lott, I do pretty good except when so-and-so. I know I'm supposed to love everybody, but there's just a few people I'm just struggling loving. Brother Lott, nobody's ever had it to go through what I'm going through. That's how we feel. If you were going through this, you would do what I'm doing too. The stress test. But tonight, God sent me by to tell you with this simple story, to just ask you a very important question. Do you have any idea who's on the boat with you? Do you really have any idea who it is that's walked with you through your life? Even when you didn't know He was there, He was right there. Keeping you safe from things that should have took you out, but He didn't let it. You'd say things, well, I got lucky. No, you didn't. No, you didn't get lucky. He was there. And what He wants to know is, do you actually know who I am? I'm the Son of the living God. I'm the one who hung stars like you'd sprinkle water off your fingers. I'm the one who carved rivers like you would take your finger and just run it through the sand. I'm the one who parts seas, who stops time. And I'm the one who came and died on a cross so that me and you could walk together. So that my spirit could be in you. Me and my Father could be in relationship with you. I'm the one that is your advocate, that I'm on the right hand of the Father right now, that if you need anything and desire, have to have anything, you can cry out to me and I will not turn you away. Do you know who I am? Do you know how much I love you? Do you know how much I care about you? Do you know that I've even prepared a place that if you'll let me, when you leave this old world, because we all have to sooner or later, but don't let it fret you, because even if you leave this old world, I've prepared a place for you to be with me for all eternity. I just want to know tonight, do you know who I am? If you do, it calms the storm. Let the weak say they're strong. If you're in this room tonight, you say, Pastor, I need to accept Him for who He is. Tonight, Pastor, I see Him. I see Him. You know, right now you can get what we call saved. You can turn your life over to Him. You can make a commitment. Remember I told you one of my commitments was Him. I gave my life to Him. Right now you can say, I know who He is. I want to make that commitment. All you have to do right now is just in your own way, in your own words, just say, Lord, forgive me. I don't even remember all the sins, but just forgive me of every sin. And more importantly today, I commit my life to You. I believe in You. I believe You died on the cross. I believe You rose from the dead. I believe that You're coming back. I believe in You. If you believe that in your heart and say, God, I believe what He just said. I believe that. I accept that. The Bible says you're saved. You're saved. It's just realizing who's on the boat. You didn't make God bigger or smaller. God was already there. It's just realizing who's on the boat. Father, tonight, for every person in here, I can't prevent the storms that'll come tomorrow, the next day, but if they know who's with them, storms of life will not take them down. They won't go under. They'll go through. I pray that in Jesus' name right now. Amen and amen. You said, Brother Lott, getting saved and just making my change, is that easy? Yes. The Bible says Paul would preach, and at the end it would say this: some believed, some didn't believe, some said, well, I'll listen to more later. It's that simple. I've just told you the truth. The question is, do you believe? Me? I know who's on the boat with me. I'm going to have to deal with a storm sooner or later, but it's okay. I'll get through it, and you will too. God bless you. Go give that devil fits.